Some brands, they assume what the youth would want, and that's not something you want there. Because once you start assuming, you're actually using your own mentality, and times have changed.
Advice from 14-year-old John Magunza, who attends Sekolo Sabaroko School in Blegauri. With annual spend of around 100 billion rand, according to youth marketers HDI's latest Generation Next study, young South African urbanites like John should not be ignored. Living in Alexandra Township, bordering on the wealthy suburb of Sandton, John and his friends are part of an important urban teen market.
Aspiration of township teens in the image space is huge. On the fashion side, yeah, both suburban township teens earmark a lot of their pocket money, spend money that they get as gifts or earn part-time for clothing. And in townships, that tends to be very careful selection of clothing and very carefully purchased brands.
One brand that has successfully tapped into this market is South African brand Lakshan Culture, which started selling street culture clothes from the back of a boot in 1999. The company now grosses 50 million rand a year, with 2 million rand allocated to marketing. Ad agency JWT copywriter Nare Makgoto is tasked with keeping this underground brand offbeat, cool and accessible in the eyes of township teens like John.
It really is very rooted in township sort of like living. You know, it's something that I think a lot of kids in the township can really look up to, and be proud of. Young, hip, happening, comfortable, South African, your own. So yeah, those are just some of the ones that just fly.
Lakshan is local. They know what the people from not just the township, but they relate as well to the urbanites. They keep it with that urban trend while still maintaining the proudly South African look.
Brands are considered a social marker, not just for urban youth, but their parents too.
No, my parents go the extra mile to make sure I put on branded clothes, because it's quite embarrassing to be walking with a no-name brand t-shirt or something like that. Branded clothing is like a statement. It's a form of identity, how to identify a person and how they relate to the brand. Peer pressure does affect branding a lot and how we put on our brands.
Cell phone airtime is a key item that South African teens spend their money on, according to the Generation Next study. And staying connected is as important for teens in the east and west of Africa.
So addiction to cell phones, which is very prevalent in this market, as prevalent in Nigeria and Kenya. In Nigeria, for instance, though, signal is much more erratic. So even teens often have two cell phones with 2 different SIM cards or 2 different networks, so that they have access to connectivity all the time.
Education is the most important savings item for Generation Next respondents, another similarity between South African, Kenyan and Nigerian teens.
There is a sensible side of township teens in South Africa, in that they have an enormous respect for education as the gateway to where they're going, and there's a similar respect in Nigeria and Kenya. And the dilemma that teens have here between their traditional roots and their modernity, with modernity winning over in this environment, I think is very similar to dilemmas that happen in East and West Africa. But there, the traditional values, I think, are still being more revered than we see in this market. Fashion in the Nigerian market, even more so than the South African market, absolutely pivotal. Nigerians, teens right well up into higher ages of society, are extremely fashion, apparel and image conscious.
But right now, what does John want most?
Definitely I'd get a new BlackBerry. I want a BlackBerry Bold, which my parents are cutting me off with, and I think I'll get some new clothes as well.
With the continent's GDP growth forecast at 5.8% in 2011 and 1 in 3 Africans now classified as middle class by the African Development Bank, the stage is set for Africa to enter a new age of consumerism. Retailers will be paying close attention to the aspirations of young Lakshan dreamers like John and his friends.